Hey everyone, how are you? This is Chef Tony with RestaurantOwnerLessons.com, and I'm here on a snowy day in December in Maryland, and I want to record a video for you that will highlight how I use a CRM. CRM is essentially a customer relationship manager software, generally web-based, that helps you track your guests, your sales opportunities in many industries. So I wanted to walk you through some of these basics of a CRM. I'll be demonstrating it using a CRM that I subscribe to called Base, B-A-S-E. You can find that at getmybase.com. And I'll just walk you through the basic ideas of a CRM so that we understand what we're looking at. You certainly may choose a number of different ones. There's plenty out there. There's Salesforce, but the idea here is to show you what the basic ideas are of using CRM in the restaurant trade, how I do it, and hopefully help you to gain more sales and retain more customers. I'll also at the end throw in a little bonus about another platform that I'm using for a slightly different feature, but it is essentially a CRM, and you'll see that at the end of the episode today. So let's take a look at the screen here. We'll walk you through a couple basics. So as we start with our home base here in Base, again, the example I'm showing you today will be essentially the idea behind a CRM. I'm happy to use this platform. It's one I pay for and I really enjoy, but there's certainly plenty to choose. So we'll take this as an example. Each one is going to feel a little bit different depending on, assuming that you're watching this based on being in the restaurant business. That's what I'm going to assume here, but certainly these are probably more commonly used in straightforward sales jobs, whether you're selling software, selling a product on the streets, hitting up businesses to business or business to consumer. But the idea is the same, so I think this would be a good example. In this particular platform called Base, there's a number of icons across the top. We'll get into each one of those. And again, the ideas here and concepts here are duplicated usually in most CRMs, so you can get the idea. The problem is I see it with many people in the restaurant trade, and especially smaller restaurants. They don't utilize as much technology as they might be able to, not for the sake of just utilizing technology, but to be more efficient, to increase sales opportunities, to develop and continue relationships. There's plenty of content on the site and courses that I'll be highlighting later about social media and such, but really a CRM is a good way to manage your relationships with one individual client. Many individual clients, but individually. Instead of a broadcast message that you might send out on social media, this is really a one-to-one typical kind of thing. You can certainly use it as a platform to be extra efficient. And with that bonus platform that I'll be talking about at the end of the show here today, I will talk about how you can utilize some efficiency tools to keep in touch with more people than one. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. At the front here on this particular platform Base, again, this is your dashboard. Essentially on the left here, you've got a pipeline worth of business that's forecasted. Each individual contact, you can have a deal or deals working, and I'll show you that a little bit later. But essentially, this is a idea of how much business you have in your system so far. This is the number of active deals I have that are working. Overall, we're doing well, but it gives you a little bit of a scoreboard here. If you have a team, for example, if you're in a larger restaurant and you have maybe your general manager, your banquet coordinator, anybody else that might have quote-unquote deals in the pipeline, there would be multiple listings here. For me, I'm the only one that works on mine right now, so that's how it kind of lists out there. The middle section here is kind of a timeline. It's kind of a almost like a stream. So this is all activity. You can obviously tuck that down a little bit with some more specificity, but essentially it's kind of a almost like you might say a Facebook similar timeline to what's been happening lately. So it gives you a timestamp when these actions were taken. So if I have some recent things I'm working on, it makes it a little bit easier and quicker to find them. On the right here is a task management. Each contact and or deal will have an opportunity to set up a to-do basically. And so this keeps you on track with things that you have to do for the day or things that are upcoming in the week, obviously. So for me, anything in red is got to be done. It's overdue. This was due a couple days ago. I know this is actually something I can do for January, so I'm going to rework that. So for example, if I want to log in, I can just change this title. I can change who it's assigned to. I can change the date it's due. Like for me, we'll probably contact them after Christmas, which has already been arranged via email. So And then on here on the right, we have some deals that already are working, or maybe were past deals. These were top deals. Some of the little fire symbol here, I indicated they were a hot deal, basically because people called kind of last minute and we got something done quickly for them. You can obviously scroll down and see much more history here. The nice thing also too is that when you click through on these deals, it can take you directly to the page. I'll use this as a opportunity to explain this sales pipeline here. So this is your fourth tab over. Essentially, you have a contact. So in any platform, you've got contacts and all the email, phone, all that kind of associated with it. Here you've got a deal value. So this particular deal was a $1,200 banquet. This is actually one that didn't happen to convert, but when you set up a deal, you have the opportunity to create a value for it, and that's pretty typical. Now, one thing I should take a little time to explain here is how this works with CRMs. Generally, there's an email address that you can actually email something to, and by doing that, it basically connects it with a particular contact or a particular deal. So, like right here, this has created an email address, pretty long email. It doesn't really matter because it's not one you publicly would use much. But this essentially is an email to email something into the base platform and into your account. So what it'll do is when you send an email to this email, it'll connect with any of the contact information that you have with this particular contact up here. These two things will match, and that information will come into the activity down here. That was something that I had to learn when I first started using CRMs. It's kind of an easy way to connect outside information through your outside email program and a contact or a deal that you're working on within the platform. Over here you've got your contact information, pretty straightforward. Here's your to-do list, also called tasks. You can set up the name of the to-do. So you can change the date and the item description and such like that right here. Going down here, you've got documents. So most platforms will have you upload a document, or a number of documents, anything you want to upload. It could be a Word doc, an Excel doc. This is an example of an Excel doc that I use for my party planning, and I can get into that in more detail later. It does have integration, which is pretty cool, with Dropbox. The only thing I didn't like about that is that you basically have to create a new folder for each deal. You can do that. You can have a subfolder system underneath banquets in general, which I guess you could do, but for me I just used it directly here. Also integrates with Google Drive, which is pretty cool. So either Dropbox or Google Drive can integrate seamlessly. And there's also a partnership with a platform called Quote Roller, which is an automated, or well, not automated, but a more streamlined process of creating a quote for somebody, which I think is cool. I just haven't gone to use it yet. It's an extra cost, and for me, I don't need it right this moment. So that's your basic idea here of the sales pipeline look. Also in the middle here, you'll have other areas popping up like a timeline. You can add a note, which is a simple note about the deal. It doesn't necessarily go out to anybody. It doesn't go out to anybody, just for you to keep track of particulars, phone calls, anything, vibe that you're getting from the deal, anything you want. You can send an email directly from this platform, which is really nice. I've actually been involved with the platform long enough to see some of these evolutions changing, and it's getting better and better, so it's really good. So like any email, you would create your subject. You can have a predestined kind of signature file here, and then whatever you want to say inside the email, of course, here. You can create an attachment as well. So by creating the attachment, you would go to pick up one of your documents that you have loaded into base, or here you can select something from your computer and attach a picture or anything else you need. So that's basically your things here. The only thing I might add is one important part, which is we'll show you down here, is stages within base. These are stages that you create, which are basically landmarks within the deal timeline. I've created the following here as an incoming lead. So when somebody calls or contacts me in any way, and I create their contact and a set a deal, I call it an incoming lead. The next stage for me is that I've collected the basic information. Third one would be that I've created the email having the BEO or banquet event order. So I've put together a suggestion basically to send to them. Back and forth within this stage might be a couple different things, but as we get an approval and a deposit, it moves to the fourth stage, which is approved awaiting event. After the event happens, I'll move it to the stage of event executed, and then beyond that, I go to a follow-up post-sale marketing email activity, meaning that they've had the event, it was successful, and that basically I'm going to follow up with them through email to kind of remind them in the future that we would love to handle their business again when the next thing comes up. These bottom ones here, well, the last one here is an indefinite pause. You do have some parties that will contact you and go through some of the sales process, but then at the end they just maybe didn't get funding for the project, or you know, something happened in their company and they're going to postpone their party or whatever. At that case, I put it as an indefinite pause, something that I want to visit later on and see if we can drum up that business in the future. The last three here are pretty self-explanatory, but these are essentially how the deal ended. I either won it, I lost it, or I created a third option, which is unqualified. For me, as I look through my clients and say, well, you know, many of them, obviously we're going to try to hit the ball out of the park and get their business. We may win them, we may lose them, but some parties actually, in my opinion, were never really qualified to be a candidate. And I don't want to muddy my statistics by losing a deal that I think wasn't even really legitimately a deal. I'll give you an example. Maybe somebody writes you and says, look, I want to have 30 people for lunch and my budget is $300. $10 a person, at least in my industry where I am, might not be worth a possibility. You know, because we're a full service restaurant, it's a pretty low dollar amount. We might say, you know what, really we're not the right restaurant to even pitch for this because of the cost scenario that we have. Or they may just say, well, we ended up doing something at home because my mom changed her mind. To me, that's an unqualified deal. It wasn't really a good pitch for us to try to, you know, get that business. So for me, it's a way that I can say, you know what, there's a few deals, and it's not the majority by far, but a few deals here and there that just I don't feel are worth including into my statistics. That's a personal decision. You can certainly choose it, you know, to do it the way you want to do it. So that's the basic ideas here around the idea of your deal. Again, you have a contact, you have a deal name here. These can all be edited on the fly right here, which is really nice. A couple of other tabs up top. This is your basic contact tab. These are all different contacts we have in the system. You can import these from all major email address platforms, as well as a CSV file. You can filter them down here on the right very quickly, which is really nice. It's using a CRM, when you think about not using something like this, and you just have this mass of emails and contacts, there's no organized system, it's kind of a mess. So using this platform or a similar platform, again, it doesn't have to be based, but for me, what I do with it is it's been the best one. It just helps you stay organized and stay efficient, and in the restaurant trade, you never have extra time, so I find it pretty invaluable. Skipping over here to tasks, this is again just a different list of all the individual to-dos that you've created. You can check them off, you can edit them, you can trash them if you don't find that they were written correctly, and again, you filter them on the right. So you may have a list of 5 or 10 or 15 or 30 depending on how many deals you have going, but this is a simple way to pull up just the things you have to do. Then you have, each task has the contact here, and then the the information here. Beyond that tab, you have an email tab, which is essentially your emails from, I use Gmail, so this is essentially a copy of that. These are all emails. I don't really deal with this tab too much within Base. I guess I could, and I probably should maybe efficiently use more of it here, but typically what I do is keep these keep in Gmail because I'm used to that environment. But it is a way that you can actually search your emails here, which is helpful. If you're looking for an email from a particular contact that you have a deal with, it might be quicker to search them from here, so you certainly can use that. The next tab over is Reports. Again, realizing that this is certainly a platform that probably certainly isn't directed at the restaurant trade. It's more directed at more sales-oriented organizations in a different fashion. They have a lot more reporting than probably I think you really need from me. It does track each of your stages, like for me, the incoming lead, the basic information collected, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It tracks when those people got out of the pipeline. Typically, once it's approved, they're not going to leave the pipeline. So everything that you lose is going to be up above that point. Obviously, you can change the date. You can look at your year and see how you're doing for the year. You can filter these things down by various factors, the source, any tags you've added to it, and who's the owner. So that's kind of, your basic reporting. I mean, that's cool, and you certainly want to look back at how you're doing. For me, the most important thing that this platform gives me is organization and the ability to kind of keep my head around what's going on. I really like it. One more tab we might want to talk about real quick. This is another view of similar things. This is your pipeline here. Again, the same pipeline stages that I've created here. You can have somebody move through that pipeline from basically A to Z essentially, and you can look at what you have to do as another way here. If you have an incoming lead, there's going to be certain things you want to do. Once you've gotten some information, there'll be certain things you want to do. And I've found, huge compliments from people that honestly, even when they don't choose us for whatever reason, space isn't the right size, whatever, they're very complimentary on my level of professionalism, and more importantly to this is my organization and follow-up. And I really think that makes a difference. Even if you don't capture their business today, they'll remember that you did a great job and that you followed up with them, you didn't forget about them, and that you were typically the one to motivate them to make sure to respond to you about the event, which I find is definitely an eye-opener. The other thing is keeping somebody inside the system. You'll tend, once you get the lead from email or a phone call, once you put it in here, it'll definitely ramp up your level of output and your level of feedback, and the time that it takes to get back to them is much, much less. So kind of you set this up as your task of maybe once or twice a week, depending on the season you're in. Like right now it's holiday season, so I'm every day in this making sure that I'm keeping track of everything I'm working. If you had a paper-based system, and I know it sounds like ridiculous, but I know there's those people out there that are still using sheets and clipboards and all that, which is fine. Once you get to a larger event or a larger restaurant, we have 10 events this week. I mean, certainly once you're ready to sell, paper is fine. You don't need to get super technical and have iPads in the kitchen necessarily, but the sales process to me is most crucial because that's when you're trying to make the money and book the event. So that kind of wraps it up. There's a few things in the back end. You can actually make phone calls through the system. If you use a VoIP or some kind of system like that, it will track your phone calls based on the deals that you're making. There's a few more technicalities we could go over here, but most of them are pretty self-explanatory. I hope you've enjoyed my run through of Base. I hope you get something out of it for sure. Again, you could use a lot of different systems. For me, I tried probably 4 or 5 before I settled on Base, and I found this one to be the best. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Stay tuned right now. After this quick break, we will have a quick little bonus platform that I'm going to introduce you to, just about a 2-minute introduction that's right along the same line. So thanks again, and stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey guys, thanks so much. It's Chef Tony from RestaurantOwnerLessons.com. Again, RestaurantOwnerLessons.com, here for you with a quick introduction to a platform that I'm very impressed with. As many of you know, I'm kind of a technology guy, and there's a train going by, so don't be worried. It's December 2013, and we're in the middle of our holiday season, but if you're catching this on the back of my CRM walkthrough video, this is going to be a bonus. You might be seeing it by itself, or might be seeing it after the CRM video. So if you haven't checked out our CRM video, please go to YouTube and the website RestaurantOwnerLessons.com and take a look at our CRM explanation and walkthrough. Right now, I want to introduce you to a platform called Contactually. I came across this through a podcast, and somebody introduced it on there, and I found it to be amazing. A lot of restaurants don't use any kind of software or any platform to keep up with their contacts. Many do, I'm sure, but hopefully I'm introducing you to a better habit, which is using something to keep hold of your clients. Contactually is a pretty amazing platform that basically helps you to keep in touch with people on a certain timeline, and in a certain way that you have your group of people that you put them into what's called buckets, so that they're kind of tags that associate with each person. You can also individually tag your contacts, but the bucket system is pretty neat because if you put people into groups, you can then email them as a group or handle them in a certain way based on their relationship with you. And the idea behind Contactually that I'm understanding, as I've used it for a couple months now, is that most people fall out of contact with people and out of contact, and before you know it, it's been 6 months or a year, you just haven't contacted and said hi, or on a business idea, contact them in a way to get business, to drive business or awareness. So this not only keeps everything organized, but keeps a timeline going and a timer going, essentially, to let you know, hey, for example, these things have happened for these particular people. This person got a new job. This lady, we last spoke on October 12th, so maybe it's time to follow up with them. I can certainly skip it, but the idea is that it keeps reminding you, hey, these are people that you haven't touched base with in a certain amount of time. And so when you set up a bucket, for example, let's say you put a bucket together with your teachers that you had in college, and you say every 6 months I want a reminder that I want to just touch base with them, just say hi. Maybe it's just to be nice to say hi, maybe it's to get some kind of lead or a business opportunity available, or whatever the reason. You just want to keep in touch with them every 6 months. You could even automate that if you wanted to, but it might just be good to remind yourself to shoot a quick email over to them, or a LinkedIn message, or a Facebook message. You can do all that through here. You see these little icons here. So when you look at these recent conversations with people, you can see if you put them in a bucket, you can see if you put them on some kind of email program, and it's just a really neat platform. I'll be doing a full video on this in the near future, so just wanted to walk you through the basic ideas and show you what we have with Contactually. Check out, again, a lot of lessons at restaurantownerlessons.com. I'm Chef Tony Marchanti. Thanking you for giving me your time and your attention. We hope you have a great, profitable restaurant career, and let me know if I can help you in any way. Thanks again, guys.